whereas the Virginia City Council is the official governing body of the City of Virginia, whereas on March 13th, 2020, the governor of the state of Minnesota issued Emergency Executive Order 20-01, declaring a peacetime emergency and coordinating Minnesota's strategy to protect Minnesotans from COVID-19. And whereas the mayor of the city of Virginia declared an emergency to exist in the city of Virginia effective March 24th, 2020 through resolution number 20049 and ratified by the city council, whereas pursuant to that declaration, the city's emergency operations plan, all plans were invoked, including the portions of those plans that are necessary for response to and recovery from the emergency related to the novel coronavirus and the resulting COVID-19 disease. And whereas resolution number 20049 declared that to the extent normal state laws and city policies and procedures impede an efficient response or compliance with federal and state directives and recommendations, the city administrator, emergency management director, and their designees were authorized to suspend compliance with those laws, policies, and procedures authorized by the Emergency Executive Order number 20-01 and by Minnesota State Statutes section 12.32 and 12.37, and to take those actions necessary to protect the public health, safety, and welfare. And whereas the local emergency which has been declared has been persisted, and the city has continued to operationalize its emergency operations plan. And whereas on March 16th, 2020, the governor of the state of Minnesota issued Executive Order number 20-04, ordering the closure of bars, restaurants, and other places of public accommodations. And whereas on May 13th, 2020, Governor of the state of Minnesota issued Executive Order number 20-56 regarding safely reopening Minnesota's economy and ensuring safe, non-work activities during the COVID-19 peacetime emergency, which set forth the following. Plan to reopen bars, restaurants, and other places of public accommodation. Commissioners of Health, Employment, and Economic Development, and Labor and Industry are directed to develop a phased plan to achieve the limited and safe reopening of the bars, restaurants, and other places of public accommodation beginning on June 1, 2020. This plan will be ready for presentation to the public no later than May 20th, 2020. And whereas on May 20th, 2020, the state of Minnesota issued the Stay Safe Minnesota Plan that provides for, among other things, for the safe reopening of bars, restaurants on June 1st, 2020, provided a COVID-19 preparedness plan has been prepared and specific guidelines are maintained as set forth by the State Department of Health, Employment, and Economic Development and Labor and Industry, the state guidelines. And whereas the timing of the governor's issuance of the Stay Safe Minnesota Plan prevented the city from providing adequate opportunity to consider and put into place an administrative procedure for approving plans for business reopening, but because the mayor and the city council finds it is in the best interest of the public that businesses have sufficient time to adequately prepare to safely open outdoor services on June 1st, 2020, and because the mayor and the city council find it in the best interest of the public to allow city staff the greatest amount of time possible to review requests to safely open such outdoor services on June 1st, 2020. So the City Council has set this special meeting for May 29th, 2020 at 1 p.m. And whereas in furtherance of the federal, state, and local government response, the City Council recognizes there is a need to provide multiple additional and alternative customer service areas on commercial sites in the city in order to protect public health and safety by limiting forward-facing exchanges between customers and employees and by promoting physical and social distancing between persons engaged in business activities within the city. Whereas the City Council recognizes the continued risk and threat of community spread of COVID-19 and the negative impact it has had on businesses and further recognizes the potential negative impact that may continue upon reopening if businesses do not have the ability to provide required distancing between patrons and employees while operating. And whereas the City Council believes it is in the best interest of the city and its businesses to allow for the temporary creation or expansion of commercial areas so long as such businesses can provide evidence of their compliance with certain requirements for the immediate and sustained preservation of public peace, health, morals, safety, and the welfare of the city. Whereas the City Council recognizes that the federal, state, and local government laws, regulations, and guidelines may change as we continue to learn more about COVID-19 virus and the impacts of the temporary creation or extension of our commercial areas contemplated in this resolution. And the City Council desires the city's ongoing response to those changes to appropriately preserve and maintain public health, safety, and welfare. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Virginia, Minnesota, the following provisions shall, upon passage of this resolution, take effect and shall remain in effect until such time as a supplemental system be put in place and put into effect by the passage of the updates of the City Code. Section 1, the foregoing recitals of the preamble are incorporated herein in reference. Section 2, notwithstanding any Virginia City Code provision to the contrary, an existing on-sale alcoholic beverage license holder may temporarily amend the license premises to include or expand temporary commercial areas so long as the licensed premises remains compact and contiguous. Section 3, a business creating and expanding a temporary commercial area may be provided with permission from the issuing authority, which is the City of Virginia, so long as the following information has been received by the issuing authority, in this case, the City of Virginia. Section 3.1, a site plan, security plan, parking, pedestrian circulation, and traffic directional plan, and fire safety plan. If an on-sale alcohol beverage license holder, the site plan must clearly show the proposed licensed premises and describe how the license holder will physically mark these licensed premises, and we will assist you in every way, shape, or form which to do that. Section 3.2, if an on-sale alcoholic beverage license holder, then the issuance must meet all applicable requirements and extend to the temporarily amended licensing permit. If the business is not the fee owner of the temporary commercial space, then the business must submit written consent from the fee owner for that commercial space. Number 4, evidence of efforts to comply with the Safe Minnesota Plan, including COVID-19 preparedness plan and the state Minnesota guidelines, and any other evidence specifically requested in advance by the issuing authority. That's the City of Virginia. Section 4, the City Council approves the use of the attached form for submission of required information. All such attached and completed forms shall be approved by the passage of this resolution. Unless specifically authorized by state, federal, or local authorities, said temporary commercial areas must not be located in the public right-of-way or in the fire or bike lanes, may not impede sidewalk usage, or block disabled parking spaces, and must comply with the American with Disabilities Act accessibility standards. Temporary commercial area may be an outdoor patio-like space. Section 6, authorized expansions must not create nuisance conditions for surrounding property owners. Amplified and live music in the temporary commercial areas must end by 10 p.m. Section 7, authorized businesses are authorized to erect temporary tables, tents, sun, or rain shelters so long as they are in compliance with the state building and fire codes. Section 8, authorized businesses must comply with all applicable federal, state, and city statutes, laws, regulations, and ordinances. Section 9, the city administrator or its designee shall develop rules and procedures to implement the terms of this resolution on a more permanent basis through an ordinance as needed. Section 10, no zoning, conditional use, or other permits as otherwise required under city code shall be required for this temporary commercial operations, except as set forth for those are allowable by a future ordinance. The terms and conditions of this resolution may be modified or clarified by subsequent city council action, and those changes may have retroactive effect. Section 12, the city may revoke the permission created hereunder if the authorized business violates the federal, state, or city of Virginia statutes, laws, regulations, or ordinance, and when the resolution expires or has been rescinded. Section 13, the authority granted in this resolution shall not otherwise allow any use or operation that is not in compliance with federal laws or regulations, Minnesota statutes, rules and regulations, including Minnesota state building and fire codes, and the Minnesota and city alcohol licensing regulations. And there's a section here, upon a vote taken therein, we must record the yeas and nays votes and the absentees and adopt the resolution if passed. So that's the resolution. I apologize for the lengthy reading of this resolution, but it covers all the bases, and it does meet the legal requirements as set forth by the city staff, by our city council, and through the collaboration with our city attorney, Mr. Brian Lindsay. So that being said, we do have some members in the audience today. So I would ask if you have any questions or comments, please come forward and we can maybe answer some questions for you. Otherwise, you can hang loose there for a little bit and we'll go through the rest of the council. And then if you have questions after the councilor's comments, please don't hesitate to come forward and ask your questions, or if we can clarify anything for you. Councilor Bearable.
Yes, Brian, are you still on the line?
I am, Counselor.
Brian, from my reading and listening to what the mayor said, this will allow us basically to open up any business in the city of Virginia, any place in the city of Virginia, if they comply with the sheets and stuff and the distances. Is that correct?
The question, Brian, from Councilor Bearable, is this resolution apply to all businesses in the city of Virginia?
Correct. It's specifically designed to apply to food service and on-sale service businesses, but I believe that it contemplates that the city could grant permission for other businesses to make similar expansions. So the simple answer is, I believe that the terms could apply so long as the requirements of the resolution are complied with.
That's what I was concerned about, because I don't want a discriminatory thing happening in the city of Virginia for one business versus another business. So if they meet the criteria, I would like to see this resolution modified a little bit to include every business in Virginia, as long as they comply with the resolution and with the distancing and the marked off areas for their business, almost like an open house for what I want to say, sidewalk days. Let's use that as an example. Let them do their stuff outside if they want to, or have somebody at their doorway. If a person has an interest in getting something in a closed business, they can approach that clerk or that owner and ask them to get it for them and bring it forward. So we can get started with actually in a slow modified way, opening the city. I don't want to see any discrimination. Thank you.
Yeah, and I don't believe the goal and objective on this resolution was to do that. Businesses have been allowed to open under the other governor's order and have customers come in and out of there. Salons are authorized to open on June 1st and continue to have indoor customers. In the case of bars and restaurants, they can't do that yet of the governor's order. I think the purpose of this resolution was to make that possible for them to do so. So right now, these businesses do have the authority to take customers to open up their businesses. And if it's within their environment, they can be outside if they want. They don't need permission as long as they're on their own property. It's the bar and restaurants that is the issue here, but your point is well taken.
Yeah, so right now, we would be basically opening up the whole city on a temporary type basis. So if you have like a card shop as an example, you need to go into the card shop.
You can do that.
Do that if there's social distancing, et cetera.
Right.
Correct, okay,
Correct.
that's all I wanted to make sure of.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yep, thanks for the question, and I hope that clarifies for those who are in the audience as well. Councillor Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate the work that's been put into this in the last several days. It's been a quick turnaround. And I have gone to a couple of businesses, both on Main Street and around town, and just really encourage them to contact us and ask. The worst thing we can do is say, no, we can't provide you with a tent, or no, we can't park a dump truck in front of you. But we can say yes to a lot of things, so I really encourage you to ask. And then, Brett, my request would be, once we have these forms formalized, can we put those on the homepage of our city website, and then we'll link that on our Facebook account, so it's really easy to find those documents. We don't want people searching around. We want to be able to click, print, and email. Can these be submitted via email electronically? Okay, so we're trying to make this as easy as possible for all of our business owners to be able to get open. You have to get stuff to Britt by 4:30 today for a potential Monday opening. Otherwise, Monday morning, I'm sure Britt will have a email box full, but she's been doing a great job along with the other staff. I echo your words, Mayor, and appreciate all the work everybody in this room and around the city is doing to help make this happen.
Yeah, and just to tag along to what you had indicated, Councillor Johnson, you know, we have always been promoting, taking every conceivable step that we can possibly can to make it easy for businesses to reopen because of the challenges of the executive order and this COVID-19. So if we have to hand deliver these forms to the restaurants and bars downtown, I think we have the capability of ability to do that. Because there may be people that don't have the internet or they're not aware of the requirements here. And they just are listening what the governor has to say. So we will try to take, hopefully, Britt, every reasonable step to help every business owner, you know, have the opportunity to submit these things for approval. And so I think it's important that we continue to work together. I thank the city council for doing so and their hard work and diligence, along with our staff and our city attorney. And thanks to the business owners for being patient. This, you know, we're trying to do this as quickly as we can because the governor's order came so quickly that we had to establish these things by law. And you know, we've done it in a few days. And if we had had a week or so or more, maybe we would have had a better opportunity for inform. So we're going to try to do that as quickly as we can so we can open up your businesses. We'll go to Council Freely, and then maybe the other two councilors on the phone. And then if any of you sitting in the audience would like to come up and ask a question or make a comment, you're welcome to do so. Council Freely.
I guess, you know, just for conversational purposes and informational purposes, I mean, when we put together these kinds of documents, which are essential for us to do within a community, we don't really think in terms of practicality, in terms of like availability and accommodations that can be availed to patrons of restaurants. And I don't know if Amy or Paul want to or are inclined to potentially talk to us about potential obstacles you see within these parameters here, or what kinds of things the city could do on your behalf to smooth out that process or pave that path or create reduction of obstacles that you might face to be able to comply with this and still do business that would be beneficial to you and your patrons, if you're so inclined. Because I'm not a business owner, and I can only think of nothing is ever as easy as it seems, and you can establish parameters and standards for you to follow, you know what I mean, to get you up and running, but then the actual logistics of that and the practicality of that might be a whole lot more complicated than those of us can even realize that aren't involved in that kind of capacity. So I hope there's minimal things that are gonna cause you, you know, strife from being able to do what you need to do to open business accordingly. But do you have any feedback with regard to where you stand with whether or not this is something being done for you or to you, so to speak? Does that make sense? If you're so inclined. If not, I can understand. But regardless, I guess I would like to say thank you to those that have put the... Okay.
Okay, so
And I guess the point I'm trying to make is this, and like Mayor Cuppy said, the city will do whatever we can, including hand deliver things to try and get this process underway and to kind of expedite everything from occurring, because there's not a lot of time before June 1st to do that. And so from a practical implementation standpoint, I just want you to know that we would be. Within our resources, we'd certainly avail that to you, I would imagine, you know.
Pam, for your record, we didn't have Amy Martinich from Downtown Business Merchant on the speakerphone, so you probably didn't hear what she said, but she indicates she's reevaluating whether or not she's going to be able to do this, and she's given that thought process, and we'll take this information and take that under advisement. And if you could add that to your minutes.
Okay,
Thank
I
you.
will do that.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Paulson, do you have anything you'd like to add? Questions, comments?
Thank you, Mayor. You know, I did want to touch base upon one thing, if I may. Brian had alluded that potentially this could also, if other business entities wanted to put a plan together, could that also apply to them? And specifically, I received a call earlier this week regarding like churches and if they wanted to have like an outdoor tent setting or a church. I don't know if it was necessarily a bazaar, but maybe like if they wanted to do a spaghetti feed, say like at Gethsemane parking lot, would that also apply if they put a plan together, Brian?
Thank you, Counselor. And I think the answer to that question may be a little bit complicated.
Okay.
The reason that I say that is for different types and categories of activities, the current order has different types of restrictions. And so I think if all of the restrictions are complied with, this may give some flexibility. But there are certain activities, I mean, obviously if they're going to organize, if a group is going to organize some sort of an activity in the park, they're going to have to be in compliance with the restrictions on gathering sizes, you know, the same types of things that would generally apply in a park are still going to apply. The primary thrust of what this document does is it provides for some expansion of space into some public spaces with permission of the city and loosens some restrictions with regard to permitting and licensing that will allow folks to, you know, provide food and beverage services out on, say, city sidewalks and things like that. And so,
Sure. Okay. So, Brian, I don't mean to interrupt, but if there was a church or a couple different churches that wanted to talk about this further, should I just send them over to talk to Britt?
you could do that. There is also on the mn.gov site, there's a very good chart that actually lays out each different category, and one of the categories is places of worship, religious services, weddings, and funerals. So there's actually a category that, as you go through, will tell you what the restrictions are and capacities, things of that nature.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and I think we still have to practice social distancing no matter what it is. And so this resolution affects the ability for food and beverage services. Other businesses can already do that. Churches can already gather, and there's a restriction under a different section of the governor's order that covers that. So this resolution would not restrict that from happening. It's just the expansion of businesses who haven't had the opportunity to do the same thing other businesses have had so far today. So thank you, Councilor Paulson. Councilor Beyondich, anything you'd like to add?
No, thank you. I'm just listening along and digesting all of it, so I'm good for right now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Johnson. Councilor Barnzelli, I didn't see your light there. It's covered up.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, item number 6, amplified and live music in temporary commercial area. Does that mean then the governor would approve going back to 1 o'clock?
No, we're restricting music on the outdoors till 10 o'clock
Till 10.
at night under this guideline.
Would we change that? Would we be the ones then that extended it like it was in the past?
Well, we could extend it later on down the road if we wanted to 1 o'clock in the morning, but right now, because most bars and restaurants well, most restaurants aren't open where they're going to have a ban, the liquor establishments would. Right now, the ordinance says at 10 PM, and we have a noise ordinance that says 10 PM. And so this resolution was based upon what the noise ordinance says. Now, if a restaurant or a bar, or liquor establishment, I should say, wants to have a music after 10 o'clock at night, they could do what they regularly do, come to us and ask permission to do that, because this does not negate any other rules and regulations that would be in conflict with that. This only is, this only provides more opportunities and more flexibility during this time of crisis.
That answers the question. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Yes, outside, that is correct.
Yeah, if you're granted usage of the outside space during this order, you can only have music till 10 o'clock in that space.
In that space, yes, thank you. Okay, Counselor Johnson?
Thank you, Mayor. Counselor Freely, to answer your question a little bit, when the order came out on Wednesday, Thursday, we started, Britt and myself and a few other people started asking questions of other business owners. There was a Facebook post where we asked business owners, what can we do? How do we help? To start with, where, what do you need? So I think the staff has been pretty diligent on working that and been, like I said myself, I've reached out personally to several businesses who I frequent regularly and just said, what can we do? And two, if you think of something, there's several places that are not going to do anything right away. They're going to just see how it works with their existing patios or their existing space, and then and again, in a week or 2 weeks, if you decide we need a couple picnic tables, you call the city, talk to Britt, or you need something else, maybe you need, and I don't know, so I don't want to throw out any ideas because I'm not a business owner either, but so it's out there, and it's, short of literally having somebody go to every business, and like Amy said, we just don't know yet. It just depends on how things work out. If the weather's like today for the next 2 weeks, it probably won't matter at all, but if it goes back to 80 and sunny, there could be another expansion. So just want to reassure you that I think the staff has really done their diligence as they've been trying to figure this out.
Thank you, Counselor Johnson. And once again, the goal and objective is to give everybody the opportunity to open up whenever they can. So we're going to do whatever we can in which to accomplish that goal. This ordinance or this resolution can be amended, changed, canceled, sunset, depending upon the governor's decisions upon his executive order by lifting even more restrictions. So it's anticipated that there may be some changes coming on June the 12th when there's another reevaluation of some of the executive order, in addition to the legislative session reopening for the purpose of potentially having a bonding bill. So that the June 12th is a target date for that. We don't know what's going to change, but we want to give you every hour of opportunity to open your business if you choose to do so. Okay, anybody else have anything before we look for an opportunity to move this resolution? Councilor Johnson?
Mayor, I'll move the resolution in which we are authorized restaurant on sale liquor establishment reopening. And I'd like to add that and other businesses in the resolution title pursuant to the plan under Minnesota Executive Order 2056, 2056.
Councilor Johnson moves to approve the resolution authorizing restaurant, on-sale liquor establishments, and other city businesses reopening pursuant to the plan under Minnesota Executive Order number 20-56. Is there support?
I'll support, Mayor.
Support by Councilor Baraboo. Is there any further discussion? Any further discussion, Councilor Paulson?
Nope, I'm ready to vote. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilor Beyondich?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Pam, did you get that motion?
Yes, I did, Mayor.
Thank you, Pam. Okay, it's been moved and supported. Any further discussion?
Just real quick,
Counselor Freely?
can I ask, does this provide opportunities for you to move forward, or is it restricting you from moving forward? Okay. And I guess I'm just visualizing, like, Polly, do you have the room out front to even accommodate that? Do you have the room to the side to accommodate these things? And what kinds of other things can we do to assist you, is what I'd be interested in knowing. Although this is essential for us to pass, but
I have been in contact. If I can jump in real quick, I've talked to Polly and to Amy, most of the, actually everybody downtown, which I don't know if that means that's who I
they're
frequent.
good to go. They're good to go.
But they all have varied requests, and we can meet them. But everything that they need, I think we can help out.
And our
with this.
resources will be available however
Absolutely.
necessary or available.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank
And I
you.
think Polly and Amy can agree that I have reached out and said, whatever you guys need, let me know, and we'll help out. Yep.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Hey, thank you, everybody. This is the only item that was on the agenda for today. We stand adjourned.